Hi, Southern Shotty here. Today we're going to be going through some of the most common mistakes people make in lighting and how to fix them. Let's dive in. Now, one thing you can do to add a lot of realism to your scenes is to consider where your light sources are coming from. So here we have a very typical example of a 3D scene where we just have some area lights to kind of fill our scene with some warm light. However, this isn't generating realistic lighting, which is why you need to consider practical lights. Now, a practical light is any light in your scene that would emit light if it existed there in real life. This can be things like sun, a lamp, or a candle. So let's turn off these area lights and look at what the scene looks like if we light it up with a practical light. First of all, we have a window here, so it'd be nice to have some sunlight coming through. So you can see there I have a sun lamp coming through, and already that's generating a lot more realism in our scene. But then I have to think about if this character had lights in the scene, where would they be? They'd most likely be tucked up here in the corner along the ceiling. So if I go, you can see that now we're getting realistic lighting spilling down from here, lighting spilling down from here. And you can see how we can go from a scene like this to this just by thinking about where we're placing our light sources and how they relate to the environment itself. Now, on the topic of practical lights, the thing with 3D lights is that they're just perfect light sources, but in the real world, that doesn't exist. Let's take a look at this point lamp here. You can see that it is just generating a perfect fall off of light from every direction. However, we can actually download things like these IES textures, which give us real lamp light bulb fall offs that we can use in our scenes. Now, typically, these are used more for architectural renderings to get realism, but they're also great for creative scenes as well to mix in a bit more interesting lighting and realistic fall off. You can download these for free, and then if I plug this here into an IES texture, I can load that download file here, take that factor, plug it into my strength, and you can see how now I'm immediately getting a realistic lamp fall off, which just adds a lot more interest and realism to the lighting in our scenes. And if we go back to this scene here, you can see the normal lights versus the IES lights, which have a more natural fall off, just adding a little bit more texture to the lighting in your scene. Now you should look into using textures on your lights and scenes. Here I have a scene where we're looking down at a tower and I wanted to create some interest with the light coming in. Here you can see that I've used a lighting texture here on my light that is splashing it in this interesting manner. And just to show you how powerful that is, let me go ahead and remove that texture there. See how flat and boring this lighting is? And by bringing it back, we get an interesting light cascading in that feels almost like it's coming through the window covered on ivy. Now, adding textures to lights used to be a bit more complicated in Blender, but they've made it easier. Here we have a spotlight, and if I open the shader menu and click Use Nodes, I will get the ability to add nodes to my light. And all you need to do is import an image texture with a mapping node, set X and Y to 0.5.5, plug in the UV, and then you could just plug that directly into the strength. You'll notice here I have an extra node here because I wanted to invert this color so that I got more shadows. Now I used two asset packs from Superhive called Gobos Plus and Gobo Light Texture. And these just provide you with a bunch of assets already preset up that you can drag and drop into your scene. It just helps save a lot of time and it has some really great animated textures. I just wanted to take a minute and say if you want to help support the channel, check out some of our products on Superhive, 25% off. Well, let's get back to the video. Now, just as important in adding lights to your scene is also removing light. Take a look at the light blocker I have here in my scene to darken the front. You can see how it's blasting light all around here, creating a hotspot. So in this scene, what I wanted to do is create a focus here on the background. The foreground elements are really just there to add kind of depth and build out the environment. So what I did is I have all of my lights in my scene, but I've also created what is called a card. And you can see here that this is just a large plane with a black color on it and the roughness turned all the way up. And by moving this around into my scene, I can control how much of that light is appearing there in the foreground. So we still have some light spilling in here, but by darkening it, we can maintain the focus where we want in the scene. Now, Slanted Lens here has a great article on how to use cards or flags in your scenes. And you can see here how they put up these flags or cards in front of lights to block off portions and get more control over how the lighting hits their characters. This is very common in real-world lighting, but because we work in 3D, we often get stuck in kind of a digital space and a digital way of thinking. Utilizing these methods can add a lot of realism and interest to your scene. Now, similar to light blocking is light linking, but this is something we can only do in the digital world. It allows us to make it so that certain lights only affect certain objects. Now, you do this by putting your lights in a collection, and then on the objects you want them to affect, putting those into a collection and linking them together. It's pretty simple, but I actually have an entire tutorial on how to do it, so I'll link to it below. Now, what this is great for is doing things like adding a backlight to your character where you can get a really harsh separation light, but not necessarily cast a bunch of ugly shadows around the rest of your scene. Although not realistic, it's fantastic for artistic control. Now, by default, the area lights in Blender scenes come in as a square. The problem is that in the real world, we don't just have a ton of square lights sitting everywhere, which is why you should take a look at the shape options we have on the area light. If you come over here, you can see the option for shape. I can change this to a rectangle and create a much more elongated highlight. I can come to a disk and get more of a spherical highlight, or I can come to an ellipse and get a soft, elongated highlight. These are much more realistic shapes in the real world environment, and they drastically impact your reflections, your character's eye highlights, and more. Now, one area I see a lot of beginner renders suffer in is the idea of color theory when it comes to their lights. Take a look at this scene and all the colors we have in here coming from the lighting. As an example, let me show you what the scene looks like if I just replace everything with white lights. You can see how bland and flat and lifeless this looks. Now, let's go ahead and break this down piece by piece. Here we have a blue and purple in the world here, creating this nice nighttime fill. And then if I come in here and turn these lights back on, we can see here that by the fire, we actually have a mix from yellow to orange to purple. And that's giving us a nice gradient fall off and some contrasting colors. If we open the moon here, we can see that we have blue light spilling in. And if we take the spotlight here, we can see that we're adding more warmth coming off from the fire. Lastly, I have an area light here in the scene, and when I turn this on, it's just brightening up the moon and bringing back some neutrality to that color. Now, a good website to break down some color theory is this website here called Color Matters, which goes in through the basics of the color wheel and understanding what colors will pair well together. Or another great website is Adobe Color, which allows you to search terms. For example, I search campfire here and gives you a lot of palettes that you can then download as an image to reference in your scene by importing it here in the image editor. They also have a color creator where you can choose a primary color and switch between all of the color theories. But the general rule of thumb is you put colors in the foreground and you pick color on one side of the color wheel, then the colors in the background should sit on the other side of the color wheel. By far, the most common mistake I see people make is lighting their scenes with only an HDRI. Now, HDRIs are great for getting lighting information, especially if you're doing something like visual effects and need to match a scene specifically. But otherwise, you should be using lights to drive your creative direction and an HDRI only to provide fill light for your scene. Take a look at this scene here. We can see that the lighting is bland and flat, and I have my HDRI here set to 1. I would recommend having HDRIs in all of your scene, but really only setting it down to low, like maybe 0.15. What this will do is serve as a filler and also give you some nice reflections on the materials in your scene. Then after that, you should add your own lights for creative direction. So for example, here you can see I have 3 area lights, bringing in some cool lights, some purple, and some fill light to help make this pop and bring a little bit of interest. Now, one of the telltale signs of a beginner lighter is that their scene feels flat from the lighting. And that's because essentially, even though we're working in 3D, at the end of the day, we're outputting a 2D image. So if we don't use shadows and depth of field to convey depth in our scene, our renders are just going to come out looking flat and boring. Now, this is something I covered in a previous lighting video, which I will link to the tutorial before in greater depth. But in general, the idea is that you want to have contrast and shadows in your scene. For example, here, we have a very boring flat lighting setup where the lights are sitting in front of our character and they are all at the same brightness level, which is leading to a very flat scene. As opposed to this scene here, where the lights have been shifted slightly to be behind our character, you can also see that the lights here are a fraction of the other lights, which is allowing for a little bit of fill light to come in, but we're still getting a lot of shadow and shape in our character, and thus getting a much better image. Now, one way to add immediate interest to any scene is to add some volumetric lighting. Most people just add a cube over their scene and place it over the entire thing, and then just end up blasting the whole scene with fog. But I think it's better to be a bit more intentional where you place your fog. Here, for example, in this ocean scene, I just wanted the fog to be rising off of the water. And you can see here that if I turn that on and off, how much depth and interest that is adding to the scene. Now, if you'd like to see the node setup I used here, I mixed some noises and color ramps in here so that I could control the fall off of the scene. I'll just let you pause here if you'd like to copy my setup. But essentially, I'm adding noise into it, but also adding a fall off from the top to the bottom. Now, everybody would love to add volumetric lighting to their scenes, but as we all know, it can make render times explode. So I actually have a tutorial where I show you some really cheap methods to get fast volumetric style rendering in your scenes. Check that out. I'll link to it in the description below. I feel like lighting is one of those things people struggle with a lot in 3D because it's actually less of a 3D specific skill and more of a real world skill. The lights and cycles work just like the lights on a set. And there's not much educational content out there on how to light your scenes. So if you'd like more videos like this, let me know in the comments below.